Yo, Padlers, welcome back to the podcast. This is your host, Norby, and I hope you enjoy this next episode. Sam, thanks a lot for joining me on this episode for the podcast. I'm pretty excited to talk to you. Number 2 British player, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
GB number 2, yeah.
Okay, cool. Let's get started with Ben mentioned. Obviously, Ben, you're working with Ben and Padel 22. So a shout out for them to support you and connecting us as well and making this happen. But tell me a little bit about your story, your background, where you're coming from, what you're coming from, where you're at the moment, and just your kind of story of getting into Padel back in the days.
Yeah, so my story is pretty, similar in some cases to a lot of people, but also quite unique. Obviously, I started through tennis. I started tennis when I was 3 years old. I picked up a racket. It was football and tennis since I was a young kid. And I played tennis till about 14, 15. Always going to Spain to train for tennis. And obviously in the tennis in Spain, padel's massive and they have, courts everywhere. Sure. And to warm up on the tennis, before the tennis, we would go on the paddle court and just all the hands, the movement, just to sort of touch and feel and just to get it into the, warming up.
Sure.
And so I kind of knew what it was, but I never really, took it seriously or played it, but I'd seen it. And then when it came to Padlr Chigwell, which is my home tennis club where I played, it came there and I was still playing tennis. That was my focus. That was my priority, was training tennis, competing in tennis. But I played paddle once a week because it was, it was there. Why not? It was a bit of fun to kind of break it up from tennis. And then I was still playing tennis 4 or 5 times a week and paddle 1 time a week. But by the end of the year, it flipped around. I was paddle 4 or 5 times a week and tennis just 1 time a week. So through that year, I loved it. It was fun. It was a great way to sort of meet new people. It was fun rallies. It was enjoyable and it was much easier than tennis. And there was a lot of that sort of fun volley rallies and sort of longer rallies, and I just enjoyed it more, and I look forward to playing paddle. And then kind of at 16 was when I decided to sort of not take it properly, like professionally, but take it a bit more serious. And I kind of dropped tennis full time. I moved to Spain, not for paddle, but it was a reason to move to Spain. It was went out to Marbella a lot since I was a young kid on the family holidays and so I kind of decided after my exams to move out to Spain, to Marbella, kind of a home away from home. Okay. And and I was going to school there and I was playing a lot more paddle, because you know how it is in England, there's not, now it's much better, but 5-6 years ago, it was almost unheard of. No one knew what it was. It was non-existent. There was nobody really there to play with apart from maybe 5-6 players. And it was just so hard to organize matches and sparring partners and trainings and in Spain, it's the home of paddle. You go there and there's players everywhere you look. There's someone that has a paddle racket in their hand and the level's so much higher. So at 16, I moved to Marbella. I started training there a bit more. And then at 17, my parents kind of decided, they said, listen, if you want to take it a bit more serious, let's look at Barcelona, where there's a really good paddle and tennis academy called BTT and Padel Academy. And I moved there. It was full time. It was 6-7 hours a day in the gym, paddle. It was very intense. It was a very professional, schedule. And my life revolves around paddle. That's when I started taking it a bit more serious, and also being around players that train every single day, that are really, really good. You sort of learn what they do and you kind of see how the professionals are training and what they do, and you kind of learn from that yourself by seeing it up close and personal. And in Barcelona, the level is very high. I was competing in the Catalan circuit, which is a very high level. Sure. And it was good to sort of start, competing in a circuit, even though it's not the international circuit. It was still a Spanish circuit where there's a lot of competitive players, and it was, it was really good to be a part of it. But then obviously Brexit came about, which is a nightmare for us Brits to live abroad in, especially in Europe, without any visas and stuff like that. It's just so complicated and difficult, especially to live in Spain. They just don't make it easy. So I had to leave Spain because I had no visa and I couldn't live there full time. So I had to leave Spain, and I was looking at kind of a place around anywhere in the world. I was choosing between South America, sort of Argentina, or a place called Dubai. Okay. And Argentina would have been good maybe for the paddle, but as a lifestyle in general, it probably Dubai I was more suited to. So I chose Dubai. It's growing so fast in the UAE in general. in Dubai, in Qatar,
Yeah.
Kuwait, Saudi Arabia. That area in general is just skyrocketing. There's clubs opening. Obviously, they've got so much money there that there's clubs opening left, right, and centre. And not just any club, sort of top of the range clubs that are
Top
the
clubs
best
I'm seeing. Yeah, I'm
facilities.
seeing on Instagram. I'm seeing everywhere. I'm like, God damn, those guys are.
Yeah, it's
they're not
amazing.
fucking around.
Every club has at least 6 indoor courts with the roof really, really high.
Yeah.
You know, official surfaces, running out, anything you want, anything you like, anything you could ask for, they've got it there. And so it's kind of cool. The only problem with being in Dubai was, although the facilities are amazing, you're quite limited and you're quite out of sort of the paddle world in terms of a lot of the tournaments are still based around Europe. All the players are still living in Europe. So to kind of go back to and from Dubai every few weeks, or it's 7-hour flight, so it's a bit of a trek, and also it's expensive to keep going to and from Dubai. So I knew it was only going to be a short-term fix. I was there for a year. I loved it. I trained with.
You there with Sandy as well, or did you train with Sandy, or who did you train with there?
Sandy had left by the time I moved out to Dubai.
Oh, okay, that was after that.
He'd already come back to the UK, so if he was there, I would have trained with him for sure. But you know, the way it worked out was he left a few months before I got there. But yeah, there's a few players obviously from Spain, Argentina that are being paid to live out there with their sponsors and coaching, and so it's good to be around them. But the problem I found was I was training with the same 10 to 12 guys every single day. And even though that before they had a really good ranking, like some of the players that live there, Sergio Ricardo, Javi Garcia, Xavi De Benito, Jacobus, and these guys are all Spanish. They're all top 30, top 40, top 100 in the world. And they're really, really good. But you get so adapted to playing against their style of game that you end up getting a false sense of confidence because you play against them. This guy, Sergio Ricardo and Javi, for example, top 50 in the world or top 100 in the world. And you're sort of winning against them or 3 sets against them. But in reality, it's because you know subconsciously what they can do, what they can't do, and you just get comfortable playing against them. So it was really good for me. I improved a lot in Dubai, but at the same time, it was quite repetitive. I got used to playing with the same people, and it got me a false sense of reality. And in another was not only was I training with the same people, it was like, because Dubai, the lifestyle is so good. It's really hard to almost be a full-time athlete in Dubai when there's such good opportunities for dinners, for going out, for the beaches. You know, it's just like it's really tough to be fully committed when it's so easy to sort of get distracted. I knew from the moment that I went there, I loved it. I'm planning on going back to live, you know, when my paddle career is done, and I love going back to the tournaments there to visit and everything. But yeah, after that year, I moved back to Spain, to Madrid this time, in a great academy there in Diagonal with some good coaches, Juanma, Lopa, Rodri. So it's been really good to be in that academy because obviously you've got players like Selingo, John Sands, all these great players living and training there. To be on court with them and training with them it's only going to help me improve. Okay, cool. So where's it again? Sorry, I missed that. That was in Diagonal in Madrid. So in Madrid, there's 3 or 4 good academies, and M3 is the most famous one. Yeah, I was there. I chose Diagonal. M3 a little bit. Yeah, exactly. M3 is a great academy, but the problem that I found with M3 is that it's got so many people there that it's hard to make the coaching for you. Almost you're just a player in a big academy, and obviously you see the LeBron and Galan close up and training with Yangwas or Arroyo. It's all amazing, but I just felt like with Diagonal, it's quite a new academy. It's quite small, and so you get a bit more attention to detail for yourself, and I felt that would benefit me quite a lot. Okay, and that was so. You're in the UK now? I'm in the UK now, kind of flicking between Spain and UK, just purely based on the visa regulations, and I can't be in Spain for more than 3 months in a row. So I'm trying to spread out my days. I kind of came back last week for the FIP in Chiswick in Rocks Lane. How did it go, by the way? How was that? Yeah, it was a really good tournament for me. I played with a guy from Spain called Iago, who trained in my academy. So he came over to play. We won the first 2 matches and we lost in the quarterfinals against the number 2 seeds, Chimera and Fran, but we got 3 sets against them. And it was a really good tournament, a really good result, and taking a lot of confidence, and I'm happy with how we played, because these guys are, 70 in the world and 90 in the world. So
FIP Rise or FIP Star?
Yeah, FIP Rise, exactly.
FIP Rise. Okay. Okay.
Rise. So to get 3 sets against players like that, it's a good confidence booster, and it kind of making you realize that you're getting closer, and the training is paying off.
Okay. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Congrats on that. First of all, that's a decent result for the start of the year, middle of the year almost. Let's move into the future then a little bit. So great story. You've been around the world. That's at a young age, which is, I think, it does help you as well quite a bit. I've been around. I've myself as well lived in many different places. Left the house when I was 14 and lived there and there and there. And I think that has helped me quite a bit on the court as well, but just in general in terms of sports, I think that's great. So pretty excited for you about that. That's cool. But let's go into a little bit about the future. What are your plans first of all? So for the year in terms of the tournament, and then we'll get into the other stuff that I wanted to talk about. But let's talk about your plans first.
Obviously, the plan is to keep sort of traveling around, playing the tournaments and training. Hopefully, I'm applying for my visa as we speak, and hopefully that will come back approved, and that will make it a lot easier to sort of to plan where I can live, where I can kind of travel to, and so hopefully that will come through. That we're hopeful that we've got everything we need. So it's in their hands now. So. Let's see, but I'm trying to play as many tournaments as I can. It's good to play the ones in the UK, in Sweden, in like France, Spain, Germany, those countries around Europe, because the level's so high that you get a good chance to compete against the best players in the world. But at the same time, I'm trying to mix it up with tournaments a bit further out. So, for example, there's a tournament in Japan in July, which I'm planning on going to, because not only is it a good chance to get some points, it's a good chance to see new countries, explore the world, learn a new culture, and just sort of experience the Japanese way of life. And I'm looking forward to going there. I can't wait. I'm going with a guy for the GB team, so that'll be fun. And I'm trying to sort of spread out, going to the places that aren't going to be packed with great players to almost get some cheap points and improve the ranking. And because exactly, 100%. Because the thing is now the level is getting so high that everyone's got so many points to enter the big tournaments in main draws, and you get a lot of benefits from entering a main draw, like to go to the premiers, and it's so hard to enter that without points. So if you've got the opportunity to go to the ones in Japan, Australia, America, then you've got to take them, so me and some other players from the GB are looking into the ones that are far away, but that's not the only ones I want to play. I want to also compete against the world's best and see how I do against them.
Sure. Okay. And in terms of the ambitions, obviously you want to play tournaments everywhere, but your ambitions and goals kind of for your padel, I'm too American almost, padel career moving forward. What are you ranked now, by the way?
I'm 180 in the FIP tour.
Okay. So what are the goals on that, or what's the kind of ambitions for the next couple of years we can talk about, I guess?
Yeah, obviously I'm happy with my ranking. 180 is a good ranking. I want to improve. I think my goal is by the end of the year 140, which I think is doable. It's not going to be easy, because to go from sort of no points to 180 is not easy. I've got 140 points right now, which is that's a good amount of points. But to get from the 140 to 200 points, that's the big jump.
Yeah,
that's the ones that you got to do good tournaments consistently and getting good results, good wins constantly. And that's what my aim is to try to get some, good results, pick up a lot of points, and really improve through the rankings fast, by the end of the year.
Okay, good. And it's anyways, actually the points and things are important, obviously, for your rankings, but it's the process that is the most important, I guess, right? 100%. So the focus, obviously, I'm sure you're well surrounded with people, but the points will come when you focus on the process, right? Eventually.
Yeah, of course. So, that's important. Is to once I don't want to be so obsessed with the ranking, because I know that if my level is good enough, the points are going to come alone. Exactly. I don't want to focus so much on I need to get this amount of points. I need to overtake that player because I'm better than him, or I don't really look at that side of it. I just try to keep training and keep trying to improve. And I know that the level that I've got and I can get to is easy enough to be 140 in the world.
Sure. So tell us about a little bit about your when you're in Spain, now going into a little bit on the daily things, because I think you're young enough and you've switched at an age where it could be interesting for some of my listeners. You know, you switched from tennis to paddle in between 14 and 16, if I understand it correctly, more or less in these year or 2 years.
Yeah.
And you're now 23.
23.
All right.
Yeah.
Good. So first of all, talk to me a little bit about your training schedule when you're in Spain at the academy. What does that look like? What does your kind of day look like? You made that video on Instagram as well. I saw that as a cool little video. But talk to us about a little bit about your day at the academy and kind of your schedule.
So you train every single day. There's different. You can choose how many times you play a day. I do 1 time a day paddle and 2 times fitness, because where I live from the club is quite maybe like a 20-25 minute drive away. And to kind of go to and from the club every single day, I play once, go gym, and then in the afternoon I go gym again, and then play the next day. But it's quite cool because every day you're training with someone. That's the thing in Spain, is you've got so many players that every day you're training with someone different, and you play against a different style, different age, different level. And some days you're with, for example, Salingo, and other days you're with guys from like Previa or Pre-Previa. So you kind of get a good mixture of levels, but obviously everyone in the academy, you know, you don't get any stinkers there. They're all great players, you know. Some are younger, some are more experienced. But it's cool because some days you've got 4 of you on a court. Sometimes it's 2 of you doing baskets, doing drills. Sometimes it's matched. Sometimes so they mix it up good. And it's quite cool because every day is something different. And they often it's quite well organized and well structured, that before the lesson starts, the coaches will gather around together, talk about what they want to do for that lesson. Everyone does the same thing on all the courts. And most courts are matched with the level, like similar levels. And for example, say today we're working on the lobs. So we'll do like 2 at the back from the basket, hitting lobs, 2 picking up, mix it around. Then we'll go into some points where you've got to, you know, all do the same drills. And it's good because that whole week is based around lobs, for example. So you get a good sort of amount of time to practice a shot through rallying, through matches, through baskets. So you get the whole sort of shebang, if you like, on it. And you do feel like you're improving with that shot, because, you know, I like to train more not matches, but more sort of on a 4 on a court, doing match play scenarios, sort of training, rallying. I'm not so much a fan of baskets because not that they're boring, but it's just like it's more real in my mind to train in a match, because obviously everyone from a basket hits the perfect shot because you're waiting for it, you know exactly what's coming. And obviously I know it's really important to train baskets, to get the confidence in the shot, to learn the shot, get the technique right. But at the same time, I do prefer it when there's 4 on a court, you know, you've got nothing but playing, you got to do the right shot. And I do like that. But yeah, I train an hour and a half paddle every day, then an hour's fitness. And it's not 2 fitness sessions, it's 1 hard, 1 intense, and 1 more sort of strength and conditioning, injury prevention, sort of strength, because obviously recovery is just as important as the actual training. So you don't want to overwork the body, because that's what I found as well in Barcelona. I found that I was training 7 to 8 hours a day, sort of 9 till 5, almost like as in school of paddle. And if you train that much, you can get burnt out, you can overwork.
Real quick.
So it's a good amount of training. I'm not overdoing it, and I'm not underdoing it. With all these tournaments happening as well and traveling, you can't train too much. You got to sort of give your body to rest and space it out. But yeah, it's 3 to 4 hours a day, eating well, training well. So yeah.
All right. When's the next tournament?
I'm going to Sweden on Wednesday to play the Fit Rise with one of my partners from the GB team. So yeah, let's see how we do in that one.
Cool. Okay. Cool. I have one question, which I'm not sure how I'm going to format yet, but I will try to get it across to you as interesting as possible, or as making sense as possible. When you switch, going back into your days when you were 14, 15, 16, right? And when you're switching to paddle, how did that come across, or what was your kind of struggles, or kind of your level at the beginning that you struggled with the most to kind of as a young player? Because obviously you had the technique from tennis. Did you,
Yeah.
if anything, I don't know, just tell me about a little bit of the experience, that the positive things
Yeah,
and
yeah.
the negative things that you had in that period when you were new in paddle, playing really good already, but maybe at the matches you weren't playing. I'm not sure. Just talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, yeah. So obviously, if you come from tennis, it's quite an easy transition to play the game. You know, you can get by at the start. You can hit the ball at least.
Yeah.
Maybe you hit it too fast or with too much topspin, or the volleys are too flat, and you haven't got like a Bandek or a Bieber. You hit like a smash, but you can pick up the game pretty quickly if you come from tennis. The one thing I would say is that I came when I was 14, so I wasn't. You see nowadays, guys are coming kind of, especially from the Scandinavian countries, they're coming from like the end of their tennis career, so they're kind of late 20s, early 30s, and they're coming across. But because they're so developed in tennis, they pick it up so fast because of their movement, their physicality, their speed around their hands around the court. They adapt really quickly, and obviously once you learn the rules, and they're already kind of set to play at a high level. Obviously, I came when I was 14, so I wasn't so developed. I wasn't like a big athlete at 14 years old. I wasn't one of those Domins at 14 that are 6'2", built like a, I wasn't one of those. I was a chubby little kid, but I came across, and the hands are obviously kind of quite easy from tennis, but obviously the hardest thing was the walls. That's like the thing that everybody struggles with, because it's such a unique part of sport. What other sport really, apart from squash, there's not many that you have to use a wall to play. But I kind of picked it up quite fast, because I went to Spain one summer, and I spent that 3 months in the summer just training with a really, really good coach, and just doing baskets and baskets and baskets of the walls. And that's kind of, if I got to be honest, if you want to improve fast, that's the only way to do it, is to work hard, spend a lot of hours on the court until you get it. Because you can't, you can't do 1 hour a week and then be upset when you're not already defending like Padlr, for example, or someone at a high level. You got to, put the time and effort into it. And that's what I did in the summer. And that helped me pick it up a lot. And one thing I would say from tennis, if I'm giving someone advice, is try to keep the swing as short as possible, because tennis players have much bigger swings for the volleys, for the ground strokes. And in paddle, ideally, you don't want to hit the ball too hard. So if you keep the swing nice and short and the racket close to the ball, it does make it much easier to learn.
Okay, that's a good advice for the young guns out there that are trying to transition from tennis to paddle. And what would you say about the mental part of understanding? Obviously, at 14, 15, 16, you're not mentally, you're also not as developed just as physically, you know what I mean? So looking back at it now, what was your kind of situation? Training is one thing, and playing points and playing a match is, I feel like, another thing, but you can maybe talk about it as you went through it. So
the mental aspect of it, the biggest difference between tennis and paddle is obviously in singles. Tennis, you're alone, it's all on you. You've got to control the match in your own mind, whereas in paddle you have a partner there to talk to. I know in doubles you can, in tennis it's the same, but in paddle you got your partner there to talk to. If you're not feeling good in a moment, you talk to them and you say, listen, let's try to keep it away from this backhand guy because he's killing me cross court or whatever. And you can kind of, if your partner's close to you, you have that comfort and that connection to sort of relax a little bit, and they help you and they guide you through. Like, for example, me and my partner Louis Harris from the GB team, he's mentally he's really good for me, because in the big moments he's there. He's kind of, we do it together, and he helps me get through it. In the golden points or the 4-4s in the third set, that sort of time of the match when there's a lot of pressure, a lot of you're nervous. It's good to have a partner there to sort of talk to, and you can both laugh about it during the match. You can relax each other and just be there for each other. That's kind of one thing I would say. And another thing is to always try to stay positive, to be upbeat. And once you miss that shot, it's done. So you've got to try to move on to the next. And exactly, it's cliche, but it's true.
Yeah, it's true. No, but there's younger kids might not understand that, right? At 14, 15, I remember I mean, the tennis court was a special case, to be honest with you. I was a small, young John McEnroe out there on the tennis court, so I had my difficulties, and then I understood some aspects of it in college. I played in college. I played college tennis, so I understood it there. I didn't know. I understood it because I had no other choice but to understand it. The coaches kind of
exactly.
But that was also at the age of 22, 21, 22. So if you can understand it earlier, the better.
Obviously age helps a lot when you're 14, 15.
Yeah.
Everything, when you lose a point, it seems like the end of the world. The racket goes, the ball's gone. But it's, at the end of the day, you've got to go through that stage to learn, the correct attitude. And I've seen many articles of Federer, when he was 17, 18, he had a terrible temperament. He was smacking rackets all over the place. And then if you didn't know that, you see him now, well, not now, but when he was in his prime, he was pretty, didn't react, very rarely
guy you've ever seen
got angry. So exactly. And he's like one of the best sportsmen to learn from, him and Rafa, especially for mindsets. They're very, good role models to learn from.
Sure. No, cool. Very cool to hear about that. And I hope that some of the younger guys can take some from you from this. Let's go into one more thing with your work with Ben and with Padel 22 and the kind of content thing. Can you hear me? Oh, money changed.
Yeah.
Oh, I think my phone's supposed to record, but it just changed the camera angle, but it's okay. We'll see how long it recorded again, the camera. I have to check my phone. Anyways, this recording here, so it's all right. The content creation with your Padel now, and where can kind of people find you? Obviously will be tech, but I don't know where you're active the most. You do on LinkedIn, Instagram, or what's the kind of goal there with and working with Ben as well together there?
Yeah, no, with Ben, we only teamed up probably about a month ago now. He's been really good for me, getting opportunities like being on the podcast with you, for example. It's been really a lot of encouragement. And, it's just about one thing is about being a good player, but another side of it is the sort of the advertisement of yourself and trying to get yourself out there. So people, maybe you're not be the best player in the world, but, if you have a good Instagram or a good personality, you'll kind of be recognizable in another way. And it's good to have that recognizability on social media, especially now with the opportunities that are coming along with Padel in Great Britain, with the LTA getting involved as well. There's a lot of opportunities coming, and it will be good to have a bit of a following on social media, so that when you do posts and sort of videos, it gets a lot of views, and it's important to get good sponsors and opportunities.
Sure, from the people that helps you. That's good. And now you get to see the wall as well that I've made. So it was slightly different than from the other angle. I'm just realizing that on the corner. No, that's cool. Awesome. Sam, that would be from my side for the podcast. I wish you with your career all the best, and with your future upcoming tournaments all the best. Obviously we'll be following your career moving forward. Maybe we can catch up again in a couple months or in a year time to see
for sure
where your career has been, and then maybe we'll see each other somewhere at another tournament. I'm not playing as many. I used to play some tournaments as well before, but I'm a bit older than you, so I have other focuses at the moment. I'm not trying to go pro anymore because I'm just too old for that, I would say. But I still do play for Hungary. If they still want me, I will play for them, and so some of these tournaments we see each other.
For sure. It's good to still be around the game one way or another, playing.
Definitely.
It's growing, so it's exciting to see where it can go to.
Definitely. But I wish you all the best with that, and we'll hopefully can catch up soon. See each other soon again, maybe on the court. Next time will be a different result than last time.
Let's see about that.
All the best, man. Thanks a lot for taking the time.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Best, man.
See you later. Right. Bye.
Cheers. Have a good one. Ciao, ciao.